Okay, I'm going to call the City Council caucus to order for April 10th, 2017. Under original consideration this evening, we have 21 items. Agenda item number 1 has been pulled. Agenda item number 2, if the clerk would please read.
Agenda item number 2 under original consideration. A resolution authorizing acceptance of a grant from the New York State Parks and Historic Preservation for flood mitigation.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 3.
Item number 3, a resolution authorizing acceptance of a $25,000 grant from the New York State Department of State.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 4.
Item number 4, a resolution authorizing a 2017 budget reappropriation in code enforcement.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 5.
Item number 5, a resolution calling for a public hearing for the 2017-2018 proposed action plan and CDBG funding.
And that was discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 6.
Item number 6, a resolution authorizing an increase of the golf cart rental fee at the Schenectady Municipal Golf Course.
Once again, discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 7.
Item number 7, a resolution authorizing the sale of 32 Chiswell Road.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 8.
Item number 8, a resolution authorizing the sale of 1749 Albany Street.
And that was discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 9.
Item number 9, a resolution authorizing the sale of 1301 3rd Avenue.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 10.
Item number 10, a resolution authorizing the sale of 926 Strong Street.
And that was discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 11.
Item number 11, a resolution referring a request for zoning changes for parcels on Erie Boulevard to the Planning Commission.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 12.
Item number 12, a resolution referring a request for zoning changes for parcels on Maxon Road to the Planning Commission.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 13.
Item number 13, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation for the Erie Boulevard mill and fill between Union Streets.
And that's discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 14.
Item number 14, a resolution authorizing the mayor to renew a contract with Mohawk Ambulance Service.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 15.
Item number 15, a resolution declaring the city council as lead agency and opening a 30-day public comment period regarding Quackenbush Parkland.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 16.
Item number 16, a resolution calling for a public hearing regarding the ceremonial renaming of a section of North J Street.
And that was discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 17.
Item number 17, a resolution confirming the appointment Christine Parsons to the Affirmative Action Advisory Board.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 18.
Item number 18, a resolution authorizing settlement of a tax certiorari with Rite Aid of New York.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 19.
Item number 19, a resolution authorizing settlement of a tax certiorari for 469 State Street.
Discussed in committee without objection on consent. Item number 20.
Item number 20, a resolution recognizing the 90th anniversary of the Schenectady Light Opera Company.
And this will be taken out of order and presented by Mr. Palomeni. Item number 21.
Item number 21, a resolution recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
This will also be taken out of order, and I will present this resolution. Item number 22.
Item number 22, under Contract and Supply, a resolution accepting the bid and awarding the contract for fertilizers and pesticides for the Schenectady Municipal Golf Course.
And that was discussed in committee without objection on consent. And we have one additional item for original consideration to be moved to the council agenda, item number 22A, if the clerk would please read.
Item number 22A, a resolution honoring Donald Francis Birch.
I need a motion for that. Motion by Mr. Mutaverin, seconded by Ms. Zalewski-Wiltzunas. All those in favor? Aye. And this item will be taken out of order and presented by Ms. Zalewski-Wiltzunas. If there's nothing else to come before the City Council caucus meeting, I will ask for a motion to adjourn by Mr. Kosher, seconded by Mr. Mutaverin. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. And I will now call the City Council meeting to order for Monday, April 10th, 2017. Please rise for the invocation from Reverend Sarah Barron of the First United Methodist Church.
Will you join me in the spirit of prayer? Source of all beings, on this holy night, we pause in preparation for the work to be done, taking this moment to attend to you. In 20 minutes or so, the Jewish celebration of Passover begins, and those whose faith descends from Abraham and Sarah, Moses and Miriam, remember your work to liberate the oppressed, those who were welcomed until the rules changed. For the Christians among us, today is Holy Monday, a time when we remember the acts of Jesus at the temple, calling again for a just ordering of the world. In this place, on this night, we have the opportunity to listen for your voice as we hear one another. In this place and on this night, the leaders of our city will have the opportunity to seek justice and well-being for your people. In this city, there is a long-standing history of care for the outsider, a spirit that started with Lawrence, whose statue stands in our stockade, who cared for European immigrants when they were unable to help themselves. May the energy of welcome continue to be a part of our shared life together. We seek your spirit in this place tonight, that your work of love and justice and well-being might be the guidance that we need for the decisions made and for our identity as a community, your city. Amen.
I'll ask Fran Lehman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to If the clerk would please call the roll.
Mr. Crozier. Here. Ms. Porterfield. Here. Ms. Zaluski-Waljunas. Here. Mr. Palameni. Here. Mr. Riggi. Here. Mr. Mudavaran. Present. Ms. Perazzo.
Present. We have 3 out-of-order items this evening. I will ask Mr. Palameni to present a ceremonial resolution recognizing the 90th anniversary of the Schenectady Light Opera Company.
Would the representatives from SLOC please come forward? Madam Chair. This is a resolution recognizing the 90th anniversary of the Schenectady Light Opera Company. Whereas the predecessor of the Schenectady Light Opera Company formed in 1926 when a group of Van Corlear and Draper alumni joined together to present short plays containing songs and comedy acts. And whereas the group was known as the Bellevue Young People's Chorus and was under the direction of Mrs. Etta Moore, a music teacher in the Schenectady City School District. And whereas the chorus performed concerts and short operettas before moving on to Gilbert and Sullivan shows, and in 1936 changed its name to the Schenectady Light Opera Company. And whereas in 1942 the SLOC disbanded due to a lack of male members caused by the fighting in World War II, but reassembled in 1946, performing at Mount Pleasant High School. And whereas the SLOC purchased the Craig School, which became known as the Opera House, in order to provide for increased storage of costumes and sets, but later sold the building in 1971 in order to purchase the Beth Israel Synagogue at 826 State Street in Schenectady. And whereas the SLOC performed at the Erie Theater from November 1950 to 1956, and various local high schools from 1956 to 1980 before moving its performances to Proctor's Theater, and whereas in April 2010, the SLOC purchased several buildings from the Catholic Diocese of Albany that were previously a part of the St. John the Baptist Parish, located between Franklin and Liberty Streets in downtown Schenectady, and put it on its first performance at the new location in February 2011, and whereas the SLOC offers local youth the opportunity to develop their performance, technical, and artistic skills through hands-on experience with productions and workshops, and whereas the SLOC has contributed to the revitalization of downtown Schenectady by offering highly acclaimed and award-winning productions, now therefore it be resolved that the Mayor, Gary R. McCarthy, and the City Council do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize the 90th season of musical theater by the Schenectady Light Opera Company. I'd like to move this.
Moved by the presenter, seconded by Mr. Mutaviran. All those in favor? Aye.
Sure. Good evening, my name is Peter Caracap. I'm the president. I'm sorry, good evening. Good evening, my name is Peter Caracappa. I'm the president of the Schenectady Light Opera Company. My compatriot is Connie Rauhauser, who was the chair of our 90th anniversary celebration. And just on behalf of us, the board of directors, and the entire Schenectady Light Opera Company, I just want to express my appreciation for being supported for so many years by the city of Schenectady, for being a part of the fabric of the city of Schenectady through ups and downs of many decades, for all of the people, residents of Schenectady and beyond, that we've invited in to perform, and most importantly, for being able to entertain you with musical theater for so many times. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will present the ceremonial resolution acknowledging Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'll ask Mr. Crozier to assume the chair. As many of you may know, I'm very passionate about this particular subject, so it's my honor to present a resolution recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Mr. Kosher?
Madam Chair, you have the floor.
Thank you. Whereas sexual violence is a major public health, human rights, and social justice issue that concerns and affects us all. And whereas the month of April represents a critical time to acknowledge the epidemic of sexual violence in our communities while working together to stop these crimes from ever happening. And whereas communities and families in the Capital Region and Mohawk Valley are heavily impacted by domestic violence, sexual assault, rape, and other crimes. And whereas Planned Parenthood Mohawk Hudson is one of the Capital Region's leading healthcare providers and advocates, serving the community with 10 health centers, seeing over 20,000 patients each year. And whereas Planned Parenthood Mohawk Hudson, together with the Baker School of Dance, have joined forces to promote victim advocacy services and to honor the survivors of sexual violence with a special performance. And whereas this year's event, We Will Survive, a night of strength through music and dance, will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th, 2017 at 6 p.m. in Proctor's GE Theater. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor, Gary R. McCarthy, and the City Council do hereby pause in their deliberations to recognize the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Schenectady. I move this resolution.
Moved by Ms. Brazos, second by Ms. Porterfield. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
My name is Jolyn Backus. I am the Victim Services Specialist at Planned Parenthood's Victim Advocacy Services. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men will become victims of sexual violence in their lifetime. This affects us all, and we thank the City Council for recognizing the importance of this cause and helping us to shine a light on this still taboo subject throughout April. And again, we are very excited and happy that you will be presenting the proclamation as well tomorrow at our event. So we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kosher. Our third resolution honors Don Birch, and Ms. Zalewski-Wildzunis will present it.
Could I ask some of the representatives for Mr. Birch to step up?
As many of you are welcome as you'd like.
Come on. Come on in. Madam Chair.
You have the floor.
This is a resolution honoring Donald Francis Birch. Whereas Donald Francis Birch was born in 1938 in Saratoga Springs, the son of John and Dorothy Birch. His family moved to Mariahville, where he played football and ran track for the Schoharie Central School. And whereas as a teenager, he became an avid motorcyclist, and his education, and he became educated by Cummins Motor, working on engines and transmissions. And whereas his love of working on engines caused him to open his own shop, Don's Transmissions and Engine Services on State Street. And whereas he moved to Texas and continued to use his skills to work on the building buses for Adirondack Tours and Kenny Rogers Tour Bus. And whereas he returned to Schenectady in 1990 and was the proud owner of the Sawmill Tavern in Schenectady's Little Italy. And whereas Don was passionate about giving back to the community and helping anyone in need, and he served free buffets every Sunday for anyone who could not afford to pay, and organized a toy run for children who otherwise would not have a gift during the holiday season, and motorcycle runs for homeless veterans, the Schenectady City Mission, and individuals in need. And whereas Donald Francis Birch passed away on January 17, 2017, and will be remembered by his community, friends, and loved ones. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor Gary R. McCarthy and the City Council of Schenectady do hereby pause in deliberations to recognize the life, generosity, and friendship of Donald Francis Birch. Madam Chair, I'd like to move this.
Moved by the presenter, seconded by Ms. Porterfield. All those in favor? Aye.
All right, I'm John Birch. I'm Don Birch's youngest son. And, he's been a loving father of me and many people that he took care of, a lot of people that he associated with. And I believe that he's impacted the city pretty positively in many ways with his selfless personality, and he'll forever be missed. He watched over me like a hawk, really making sure everything was okay. And he did this for many, not only me. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that would agree. And my dad was a tough man, but he had a heart like no other. Really the best role model I could ever ask for. I could never put into words how much he meant to me and the thousands he helped. Fed the hungry every Sunday, and I know it's kind of repetitive, but it needs to be acknowledged. And all the money came like right out of his pocket. It's a real man. He hosted the annual toy run, like you said, for the past 30 years, giving the less fortunate something to look forward to on the holidays. And a lot of my childhood I rode on the bike for all those times. At the time, it wasn't really much, but, I look at it now, and he's been a really positive influence on the city. And these are just some of the things these things are just the tip of the iceberg, considering all the things he has done. And he had also supported our veterans and having countless benefits for them, and also for anybody who was struggling, many of which were families that had lost someone, or in support to those with terminal illness. He has not only been important to the city of Schenectady, but also to the many people that he helped. When the street is renamed, it will not just be a street, it will be a memorial site for the greatness this man has done for the city. And that's my conclusion.
Touch base here because I nailed the boards on that one. I was 19 years old, and I was just joining the Navy that year in 1976. My hair was down to my belt loops, and then Dad goes, "Where are you gonna go?" I go, "I'm not sure, somewhere around the world." And he drove me to the train station when I had to get on a train to head to Chicago, Great Lakes, that time. And I was like, "Well, I'm leaving. Good to see you. Let me know when you get there." And on the way to Chicago, there's a derailment. We were delayed for like 12 hours, and there was no cell phones then or anything else. And he was just worried and pandemonium. He thought, I didn't make it there to boot camp or whatever. And he was calling Great Lakes, NTC, RTC. "Where's my son? Where's my son?" And then when I finally arrived there and called him, he goes, "Oh, you made it, you made it." And I felt good. And then I did 4 years, went around the world, came back, bartended there, hundreds of Hell's Angels, everybody else, my sister, my brother, who are now deceased, Kim and Alan. Been there through the hard times, the good times, and the bad times. And then my younger brother can say in the same fashion, he gave to everybody who was there, even when they didn't have anything. He filled their souls with food and life, and gave and cared. And that's what this city needs. Of the same, we want a sanctuary city, but I want a safe city also, and just on the same course. I remember we were having hard times down in that area. I worked at Union College over 30 years, And Stewart Place, Park Place, I was on a think tank, and they go, how are we gonna clean this up? I go, we gotta flush a toilet. And I was telling colleagues, other people, and they did. They bought all them houses, and now the kids are all happy to be there. But it's a two-way street anyway, where you go. You know, people that do pay taxes, Dad was complaining about two-tier tax on the corner. And what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? When he lost his job. But people came around, and we've supported him and brought him where he is. But Professor Wicks could probably finish it for me. And I love and miss him, but thank you so much for, naming the street after my father. It means the world to me. Thank you.
I'll make it short. I'd known Donnie Birch for 40 years and no one I admired anymore, but we've heard all about the compassionate, good things he did. But what hasn't been pointed out is he ran factories, and tough factories to run. He did it very well. He was making military vehicles here. I was down in an airplane in Florida and mentioned Schenectady, and they say that's where Donnie Birch makes those military vehicles. He was making Nova buses here. People from Montreal would come down, and they say, we keep the Nova bus factory here because Donnie Birch is running it. I take my engineering students over to the factory. They'd never been into a factory before, and Donnie Birch is showing them how you build a bus, while at the same time he's telling them how to build a bus. He's a multitasker, and then later on over at Super Steel, where you're making the rail locomotives, he did the same thing all over again. So all the compassionate things are true, but what shouldn't be overlooked is what he's done for the economy here.
So we're moving along to approval of the minutes from March 27th, 2017, moved by Mr. Mutaviran, seconded by Ms. Zalewski-Wiltzunis. All those in favor? Aye. And if the clerk would please read communications and petitions.
Communications presented to the City Council for Monday, April 10th, 2017. Under official from the mayor, a list of appointments dated April 10th, 2017, from Richard McElrecky Ackert, purchasing supervisor, dated April 10th, 2017, recommending the award and purchase of fertilizers and pesticides for the Schenectady Municipal Golf Course. Under general, from Robert Zink of the Polish American Veterans of Schenectady, extending their gratitude for the recent donation from the City of Schenectady. Under petitions, a letter from Fran Lehman of 1522 Foster Avenue, Schenectady, New York, with 1,518 petition signatures from Schenectady residents requesting renaming a section of North J Street beyond South Ave to Donnie Birch Way.
Thank you. Committee reports. Anyone? Okay. So, what we have tonight is truly democracy at its greatest. We have people filling this room that are interested in speaking with their local elected officials about their views and feelings. I want to clearly state that everyone's opinion is welcome here, and everyone is welcome to speak. And I'm happy that no matter what side of the issues we might be discussing this evening, that you're here to share with us your thoughts. That being said, I will ask that all of you share your thoughts respectfully. I certainly understand if a voice may rise in passion, but I will not tolerate people yelling and screaming at each other this evening. Everyone's voice is important, and I will ask that you express your opinions with respect. I also want to tell you that for the many of you that may not have viewed our committee meeting, that the majority of the council will discuss all of the options around the big topic tonight, which is respect and dignity for all of our citizens. Already, ideas have been brought to the table last Monday night, but all of our council members were not present, and I thought this was an important conversation for all of us to be present at. So we will be discussing this on Monday night. So that being said, we will move forward to privilege of the floor as it's related to the legislative agenda. I have 4 people signed up to speak, and the first is P.D. Voris.
My name is P.D. Voris, and I live in the city. The first thing I'd like to address is the contract being renewed with Mohawk Ambulance. There are terms here that aren't being given definitions, and I think that's a Chevron pitfall for the Chevron issue. So, and I'd also like to know if the city is going to indemnify Mohawk for mistakes that lead to greater mistakes. I'd also like to say there are 2 things on the agenda that went through the Finance Committee regarding zoning and planning. I don't know what finance has to do with it, maybe government operations, but I'm just suggesting that you do not do that. Regarding the 9th person on the newly activated Affirmative Action Advisory Board, I'd like to see a resume on this individual. I know who she is. The other 8 people, of those 8 people, I only know of one. The other names I've never heard of. I've never seen resumes. Qualifications for this board: 2 from women's interests, 1 from Hispanic, 2 from minority, 1 from disabled, and 3 sensitive to intergroup relations and various agreements by city appointees. There seems to be some parallels or paradoxes actually here with some of the issues being dealt with tonight. As far as sexual victims of sexual crimes, I don't know if the speaker here has ever had an experience with that. My family has, directly, very close to me. And also with over 40% of students coming out of high school today hoping to be, thinking they're going to be stars, I'd like to, in recognition of SLOC's record, review on the October 12th, 2014. SLOC's Horror Timeless. On Friday night, Richard O'Brien's Rocky Horror Show premiered at 427 Franklin Avenue. The audience yelled at the performers, waved glass sticks, and threw various objects. Oh, there was a moment on Friday night when the stunned crowd, at least those were certain age who had never seen oral sex simulated graphically on stage before. However, and it goes on and on. It doesn't get any better. They also performed urination, which was built a lot of Rotten Tomatoes. It was his first appearance at the co-host theater.
I'm going to need you to
and they
summarize,
still
Ms.
did it
Voris,
here.
please.
And so, the other thing,
Ms. Voris,
the golf
thank
carts
you.
now have GPS on them. I think Mr. Birch's Street, being such a short street, businesses and residents, you ought to give them a GPS.
Thank you, Ms. Voris.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. You too. Mary McLean.
Good evening, decision makers. Item number 6, increase in golf cart fees. Last year, when council raised the playing fees for the city's golf course, I called the privately owned golf courses to ask about their green fees. They told me private clubs cannot compete with the public courses because you have more resources at your disposal than they do. It makes more sense to lower fees rather than maintain fees that are comparable to the private sector. Lower fees would draw more players to Mooney's golf course. Furthermore, why is it necessary to raise golf cart fees? Is it to recoup the revenue that was lost when council waived fees for construction permits last summer? This year, the city will receive approximately $130,000 in building permit fees from Union College for the construction that will take place on campus. That is a lot of money to receive, but a lot to lose when waivers are granted for construction projects. How much did the city lose last summer due to your poor legislation? And what is it going to be this time? Item number 14, council is expected to renew the contract with the Mohawk Ambulance Service. Does council know what the Clawson dispatch protocols are? No one asked about them during the committee meeting. What are the Charlie Delta Echo calls? What are the standards as specified in the certification? Who in the city maintains the books for the life of the contract? Why should the city pay 8% billing service charge when Mohawk wants exclusive rights to the service? With your 3 jobs, 8 apartments to care for, and blighted lights to chase after, do you really have the time to digest an 8-page contract before you vote tonight? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Shepherd. Sue Shepherd. Okay. Frank Wicks.
I signed up to talk about Don Birch, but I already did. I just want to add one more thing. We have the Italian Fest there every year, and the Sawmill Tavern's there at the end of the street. And Donnie Birch was out there every year helping with the setup of it. If there wasn't enough seats for the band, he'd go in the sawmill and bring chairs out the sawmill to set them up for the customers. And when the show was over, he made sure everything was cleaned up and looked like it looked like there was never a festival there the next day, and it was Donnie Birch that made it happen.
Thank you. I have no one else signed up to speak for privilege of the floor related to the legislative agenda, so I would declare this portion of the meeting closed. And I will entertain a motion to approve the legislative agenda moved by Mr. Kosher, seconded by Ms. Zaluski-Wilzunas. All those in favor? Aye. And we will move on to privilege of the floor regarding general city business. I have 32 people signed up to speak this evening. I will ask, on top of my prior requests, that you also respect the 3-minute time limit so that we make sure everyone gets a chance to have their voice heard. Not that we would close off the speaking, but while everybody else is still here. So the first person, I apologize, I'm having a hard time reading your first name, Martial Molly. Sorry, I apologize.
Well, that's my poor handwriting. I'm Martin Manley, city resident, active with First United Methodist Church. I'm here to speak in favor of sanctuary city status for Schenectady. Unless we are Native American, our ancestors came here from somewhere else. Who are we to close the doors now? Let us welcome, honor, and protect our immigrant brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you. Marva Isaacs.
Madam President, Mr. Mayor, I was here when the committee came here for Martin Luther King Way, which tomorrow is supposed to be the dedication of Martin Luther King Way. And I would like to know why Martin Luther King Way, the ceremony is being kept in Seacom parking lot. We have the whole of Albany Street. Why is it being kept in Seacom parking lot? They didn't ask for Seacom parking lot, they asked for Albany Street, and I think they should keep it on Albany Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Donegan.
There we go. Hello. I'm sorry. Okay. Madam President, council members, each and every one of you, Mayor McCarthy and other interested parties and the audience. I'm here again and to speak on behalf of Sanctuary City. And I must say I was very pleased that on the 17th of April, the council will take up this subject for discussion. I'm very happy to hear that, and I do hope that when you're doing this, all things will be considered, and that you will realize, again, going back to the guidance of the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, that President Trump does not have the right to take away funding from this city. For a city that is sanctuary city, he cannot take away the money. The threat might be there, but he will not take it away. That is a very important thing I hope that you will remember. Your block grant money isn't going to disappear. If it disappears, it's already disappeared, because in the budget that President Trump proposed, block grants were going to be one of the things eliminated. That is something you would have to fight about. So I'm just asking that you think about all the people who live here and how important it is that Schenectady is a sanctuary city. I know in the past you have said, and that the police have said, no, we will not do the work of ICE. We will not go and pick up people, any of the immigrants, and do ICE's job. I know that is being said, but I think what is very, very important is for that to be legislation, that sanctuary city means people will be protected, the police will do their own work, people, immigrants who are here should not be afraid of the police, and that is what sanctuary city will give us. So again, I hope you will join with the many cities across the country. There are probably about 500 now. Connecticut is a state that is sanctuary city, a sanctuary state. So please do the best, talk, and come up with the answer that we're looking for to name Schenectady Sanctuary City. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Bonhomme. Tony Bonhomme. No, Tony Bonhomme.
Tony Bonhomme, Bellevue. Again, I'm not going to harp on it. I'm against sanctuary cities. Amen. Then, Mrs. Porterfield asked me before the meeting how the bridge is coming on Oak Street. I don't know. Only two people contacted me after the papers were signed. Mr. Riggi and Mr. Mudavaran called me up and told me the papers were signed. Now, haven't heard much about it since. A woman in the back was passing papers out a little while ago. It says, build bridges instead of walls. I says, why don't you get up and talk about the Oak Street Bridge? She says, oh, New York State needs a lot of infrastructure. I says, we need Oak Street Bridge built. I says, that's what we need. She said, are you signed up? How many of these people come down and know what's going on at these meetings except for one thing? I mean, I haven't heard anyone tell me that they care about my family, that the fire trucks, the ambulance, they're not going to get up to my section of Bellevue because Oak Street Bridge is closed. I haven't heard that. My family and my neighbors are in jeopardy. Guess what? It's 4 years this month. 4 years that Oak Street Bridge has been closed. Madam Chair, why don't you do something at your committee meeting, contact the U.S. senators, the U.S. congressmen, all your state and local officials, have them see what the heck they can do, because no one back there is doing anything for us, plus the city engineer. Haven't heard a thing. 4 years, don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Birch.
All right, I was gonna speak on corruption because I had my head cracked open October 3rd by the police over here, and they always put me back in this cell and the cameras never work, and then they talk about this girl that had her head split open, and they're just gonna pay her, and she's gonna sign an NDA, and then nobody's ever gonna hear about it, and these cops will not get in trouble. But there are some good cops on this force. I'm starting to see them, emerge, but they're rookies, and how long will they last before they get turned out, all right? All right, so anyway, yeah, the sanctuary city thing, like, all you guys have your hearts in right places, like, you know what I mean? But you do gotta remember, there is a rule of law, and if we just allow sanctuary to come on, can we move them into your yards? And I'm not trying to say nothing, because I know a lot of real illegals that came here, and they're great people. You can't uproot people that have been here for 20 years with families, but you can stop people from coming here illegally, and they're welcome to come here legally. So let's stop all the rhetoric and the banter about, oh, how cruel we are because we're not letting people come here. Listen, you guys feed them, man. I'm sick and tired of this, waving your signs around. Listen, it's so complicated. You need to go to school to start to be able to, like, really ascertain this type of stuff. When you come here, you start grandstanding because you're watching CNN, MSNBC, or whatever it is. I'm telling you right now, this already is a sanctuary, city. So there's no need to fret about it. It already is. I've been in the courtrooms. Judge Sipnewski, he didn't hold anyone for ICE. He never does. They release them immediately, all right? And I'm telling you, they don't release me, and we're all supposed to be equal, all right? Yeah, I came here eventually, like somebody along the line was an immigrant, in my family. But we need to, come here, and a lot of these people that are coming here, they're not assimilating. They don't like us. They don't like what we stand for, all right? Because religiously, they got some little mental block that stops them from really, really understanding and respecting liberty, all right? And that's a virtue. That's a cornerstone to what we are. And if you're not that, then you're against us. So I'm going to really start paying attention to all these crazy little liberals out there, and we really need to start, like, compiling a book and keeping track of these people. They're freaking dangerous, man. I mean, they're voting. And I'm not even sure if this man right here has his green card. I'm not sure, and I'm sorry. I heard through the grapevine, and I'm not sure about it. But we don't even know if this man's even legit, and he's on the council, all right? And this is getting crazy. Now, let me tell you something. I'm going to go to college full time, and I will not even take the bar exam because I don't want that ball and chain on me. And I'm telling you, this is getting crazy. This is getting crazy that I keep hearing people freaking out about Trump. All right, I don't like Trump either. He's a narcissist, but listen, that's one good thing going for him, because the man is such a fucking narcissist, he's such a narcissist that he's gonna do a good job because he knows that the history books are immortal. He's gonna wanna ring through the annals of history. He's not gonna do a bad job. That's why he's working day and night, and just let him do his thing, all right? I don't know about the wars or anything, but who cares about this sanctuary city thing? If you want to protect them, go move over there with them. And I'm telling you, if the cops want to arrest them, I'll start chasing them down and arresting them. And if you guys make anything legal, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file a lawsuit for sedition.
I'll ask you to be respectful, please. Chrisanna, and I think it's Mary. There's two people in front of you. I'll call your name when you're in order. Chrisanna Scheide? I'm so sorry. Scheider.
What were you for the Indians? The real Indians. What were you for that?
Chrisanna Scheider.
Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name is Chrisanna Scheider, and I've lived in Schenectady for 5 years now. I'm speaking in favor of Schenectady declaring itself a sanctuary city. At the last City Council meeting, and just now, some people have spoke out against Schenectady becoming a sanctuary city, arguing that they are not against helping and protecting immigrants, but that they think people should be in the country legally. But that is not the issue. We all agree that following the law is important and that people should come and live here according to the laws. But given the fact that there just are undocumented immigrants, we need to decide what we're going to do about that. We need to decide exactly how we're going to treat them, our neighbors. Are we really going to refuse to protect these people, rip them from their families, just because they lack paperwork, which is often the case? Right now, the Schenectady City Council is presented with an opportunity to do the right thing, and I also am very pleased to hear that you're going to discuss this. You have a clear-cut choice between two sides of history, the right side and the wrong side. The fact that President Trump has demonized undocumented immigrants and sanctuary cities as part of his divisive campaign to grab power by promoting ignorance and fear makes the choice between right and wrong in this case all the much clearer. The Attorney General of the United States, a man who is denied a federal judgeship because of policies deemed to be racist by the Southern Poverty Law Center, has threatened to withhold funds from sanctuary cities. This threatened action is immoral, vindictive, most likely unconstitutional, and based on a lie. Jeff Sessions has this to say about sanctuary cities, quote, "Such policies cannot continue. They make our cities less safe by putting dangerous criminals back on the street," end quote. But numerous studies say the opposite. Last week, I cited just two, by Lauren Collingwood and another by Tom Wong, that prove Sessions wrong. Sanctuary cities are, in fact, safer. These funds that he's threatening to pull are federal grants for police forces. That is nothing to joke about. The total is in the billions, but it is unclear how much of this would go to Schenectady. It would be helpful if the council could be clear about exactly what grants we might lose by declaring ourselves a sanctuary city. On this point, though, regarding the legality of sanctuary cities and whether or not we really should be worried about our funds being pulled or our grants being pulled, as it's already been pointed out, New York General Attorney Eric Schneiderman has laid out a very clear guideline, and I'm sure you've all seen it, regarding our rights and obligations to the federal government. He makes an extremely compelling argument, according to the 10th Amendment, that, quote, "The federal government cannot compel the states to enact or administer a federal regulatory program or compel the state employees to participate in the administration of a federally enacted regulatory scheme." If for some reason he is mistaken, then we need to hear from you and explain to us exactly why he's mistaken. In the last City Council meeting, I believe that it was Councilman John Palomeni and Mayor McCarthy who urged us to contact our senators and representatives. And I say that we have. In fact, I know several people here have.
Summarize.
And we will. But this is not about just the federal government. This is our community, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? Thank you.
Ken Aslaxon. Ken Aslaxon. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam President, and the other members of the City Council for listening to the concerns of your constituents. I'm a 10-year resident and homeowner in Schenectady, and have speaking tonight in favor of Schenectady declaring itself a sanctuary city. I'm not going to speak to policies. You'll hear more about that. I'm going to speak to politics. There are 6 Democrats and 1 independent on the City Council. So far, the City Council members have been very reluctant to speak. 2 members appear to be open, at least, to the idea of a sanctuary city, while 1 at least has spoken out against it, to my knowledge. We know who you are, and yes, we are keeping score. Councilman Palomeni 2 weeks ago explained to those present why he opposed the move. He started off by telling us that his position is not based on fear, that neither he nor anyone in the City Council is afraid. But then he spent the majority of his time explaining why Jeff Sessions might be constitutionally justified in withholding monies from sanctuary cities. He may not be afraid of immigrants, but he appears to be afraid of Jeff Sessions and Donald Trump. New York's Attorney General Eric Schneiderman's view of the constitutionality of Sessions' threatened action differs from that of Sessions himself and apparently from Councilman Palomeni. I have a copy here of Schneiderman's guidelines in which he explains why Sessions' proposed threatened actions are unconstitutional. Unlike Sessions, a Republican and longtime Trump supporter, Schneiderman, a Democrat, does not have a history of racist policies and lying to Congress. I'm a little perplexed why Councilman Palomeni would sign with Jeff Sessions on this issue as opposed to Eric Schneiderman. Maybe if and when he runs for re-election, he should run on the Republican ticket. The mayor, who also has a D after his name, passed the question of sanctuary city status, saying that it's an issue to take up with the federal government. With respect, Mr. Mayor, there is a movement within the Democratic Party, the Common Sense movement, that has learned two things from the Tea Party movement, the grassroots movement on the right. First, we've learned to talk to our own party first and make sure they're on board with the movement before trying to reach across the aisle. Second, we've learned to start locally and work our way out. For both of these reasons, we are turning to you, Mr. Mayor, and to the City Council, not Republicans who control the national government, to do the right thing and declare Schenectady a sanctuary city. This will tell us you are listening to your constituency, that we have reason to count on you and not some replacements to represent us in the movement going forward. Today's Democrat, that is the post-November 2016 Democrat, wants something different from its politicians and its office holders. Today's Democrat wants somebody who will start acting like a Democrat and stand up to Republicans when they try to bully us and push through policies that divide our citizens with fear-mongering and race baiting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mary McLean.
My father came to America through Ellis Island. He did not climb a wall. He did not run across a bridge. He did not ferry himself in a boat to dry land. He did it the right way. He was 18 years old. My aunt and cousins also came to America through Ellis Island. They did not thumb their noses at our laws. They did not steal somebody else's spot. They did not push their way to the front of the line. They waited their turns. My mother came to this country through my father's legal papers. He was already a U.S. citizen when they were married. My uncle and my friend's stories are poignant ones. My uncle was an Italian soldier. He was captured at the outset of the Second World War. He remained a prisoner of war for 11 years. Upon his release, my father and aunt began the arduous process of sending for their baby brother through the quota system that still exists today. My friend was a Hungarian Jew. His father and all members of his extended family were lost in the Holocaust. He and his mother waited 7 years to enter this country. His brother waited 9 years. He was a Holocaust survivor. I have visited the Holocaust Museum. I was a docent for the Holocaust exhibit when it was on display at Union College. To my knowledge, there is nothing in the history of the Holocaust survivors to indicate they came to this country without the proper credentials. It is against the law to be in this country illegally. You took an oath of office. Are you going to keep it? Thank you.
Kevin Nelson.
My name is Kevin Nelson. I'm a member at First United Methodist Church. In past speeches, I've appealed to what I hope are our shared values, which include human dignity, diversity, inclusion, and care for our neighbors. Today, I'm addressing some of what I heard from council members regarding their opposition to or uncertainty about a sanctuary city designation. One piece of research that I did turned up a letter signed by 292 constitutional, immigration, administrative law, and international law professors and scholars sent to President Trump about withholding federal funds from states, counties, and cities with sanctuary policies, calling those efforts unconstitutional and strongly encouraging the administration to rescind that section of the executive order. The undersigned law professors and scholars include individuals from all of the top half-dozen law schools in the country, including Yale, Stanford, Harvard, University of Chicago, Columbia, and NYU, as well as 5 professors from the University of Albany Law School. The U.S. Conference of Mayors commissioned legal advice on their lawyers' recommendations regarding that executive order. And the feedback that they received was that it would face significant challenges under current interpretations of the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. Legislative or administrative attempts to cut off wide sources of federal funding to localities, unless they partake in immigration enforcement schemes, would also face significant challenges under current interpretations of the 10th Amendment. I have provided for you my comments as well as some attachments which include a sample sanctuary city policy from the American Civil Liberties Union, which would not violate federal law. Part of the question is about what ICE detainers are versus judicial warrants. What we are urging is that we not comply with ICE detainers, which simply request information on persons that are being held in police custody. These are voluntary. Judicial arrest warrants are signed by judges and request that a person be detained based on probable cause that they've committed a crime. Becoming a sanctuary city would not impact our adherence to that law. We speak a lot about community policing, which focuses on trust and engagement between law enforcement and the people they protect. This principle is recognized as critical, and I've heard both our police chief and members of this council embrace this philosophy. Sanctuary city policies contribute toward this philosophy. Rejection of such policies undermines the philosophy. I'm running out of time, but you have my complete remarks before you, and you can read them. The last point that I want to make is that our Justice Department grants, I requested clarification about what they pay for from our police chief, and it was made clear to me that they do not pay for police officers. Under the current structure of our federal grant system, they are not permitted to pay for police officers. And so if they were withheld for any period of time, it would not impact the number of police officers on our force or the budget of our police department.
Do you need to
Thank you.
summarize, please? Thank you. Lynn Cusick.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the council and Mayor McCarthy. I am a longtime resident of the city of Schenectady, and I'm pleased that you will finally be taking up the issue of Sanctuary City at an open and public meeting. Immigrants among us have proven to be productive and peaceful members of our citizenry. Sanctuary City status means encouraging law-abiding, undocumented residents to live among us peacefully without fear that they will be questioned by the Schenectady police officers about their immigration status. It will therefore make it easier for those who witness crimes to report what they know to authorities without fear of being detained themselves. It will allow victims of crimes, including victims of domestic violence, to report those crimes to police and still feel protected themselves. It will prevent Schenectady police officers from doing the work of federal immigration agencies to identify, apprehend, and detain law-abiding immigrants, documented or undocumented. It will give potentially vulnerable people more confidence to contact authorities to report crimes in our streets and the community without fear of being turned over to federal authorities for possible deportation. It will make our city safer for everyone who lives here. Our nation is based on the contributions of immigrants of all races, creeds, and nationalities. Schenectady has a rich mix of people from many nations. As a city, we recruited Guyanese to relocate here. My neighbors and friends are Asians, Africans, and South Americans, as well as Europeans. Most came here after years of extreme vetting. Our borders are not nearly as porous as some would have us believe. Some are not documented, having been brought here as children or having overstayed student or visitor visas. But they are not criminals and should not be treated as such. Those living alongside us and contributing peacefully to our community should not live in fear of our police. Our police force has important work to do, and the mission should not be diverted by doing the work of federal agencies as well. Thank you for considering the sanctuary city status, and I hope that you will have a vote on it so that we will know how each and every one of you stand on the issue. Thank you.
Dana Carroll.
Hi, my name is Dana Carroll, and I'm with First United Methodist Church. 2 weeks ago, Councilmember Polemini made a comment about illegal immigration versus legal immigration and having a problem with people who come here illegally. Point one, it doesn't matter. Being here without documentation is a civil offense, not a criminal offense. In other words, it is an administrative matter akin to not paying a bill, not a criminal matter like physical violence. Point two, undocumented immigration was not treated as a problem until it became a political issue after 9/11, when it was reported that a couple of hijackers had overstayed their visas. This is very different from people who desperately want to be here legally, but are turned away by a green card process that can take anywhere from 1 to 24 years, and a citizenship process that takes about another 6 years. If a potential immigrant isn't married to a U.S. citizen, a parent of a U.S. citizen, an unmarried child under 21 of a U.S. citizen, or qualified for the holy grail of visas, special employment visas, then getting a green card often literally involves winning a lottery, an immigration slot lottery. We make it hard to come here legally. Mr. Mutuvaran has expressed grave concern over what becoming a sanctuary city has done to Albany's budget and the $12 million hole it has created. But research turned up a January Times Union article reports that Albany has structural deficits related to the amount of land not on its tax rolls, namely land used by the state and the University of Albany, and that the payments Albany receives from the state are about 1/3 of 1% of what they would receive if the land were taxed at its regular value. This, combined with a failure on the part of Governor Cuomo to include $12.5 million in promised funding to the city in a recent supplemental budget, is why this budget deficit has been created. It bears no relationship to Albany's status as a sanctuary city. We don't have any word yet on whether the just agreed to state budget takes any steps toward correcting the matter, but it has no bearing on what the council decides here. And I want to say that I teach English to a young Afghani woman, and she does not feel safe here anymore. And I want Albany to be, I want Schenectady to be a sanctuary city because I want everyone to feel safe and welcome here.
Dean Murabito.
Good evening, Madam President, City Council members, Mayor. I was happy to see at the last committee meeting that the topic of immigrant support was on the agenda, so I thank you for finally putting that on there. Thank you. I did want to comment on the term immigrant support, as I feel wording is really important when discussing this issue. And I'd like to give a short definition of the word sanctuary: a place of refuge or safety. And I hope when the members of this city council meet to discuss immigrant support, The discussion includes refuge and safety for all those negatively affected by the current administration's efforts to continue the fear-mongering about Muslims and Mexicans. Thank you.
Ellie Pepper.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam President, City Council members. My name is Ellie Pepper, and I've lived in Schenectady for 22 years. One of the best characteristics of this city is the incredible amount of diversity. People from all over the world live here. For the past few meetings, I've used privilege of the floor to express support for a resolution declaring Schenectady a sanctuary city. At the last council meeting, Mr. Palomini stated that this was a matter of legal versus illegal immigrants. I respectfully disagree. The president has chosen to focus on 7 countries, and as a result, even those who are documented, but from one of those 7 countries, is being targeted. For example, a married couple that I am friends with was called into the Office of Homeland Security immediately following the president's executive order. One spouse is an American citizen, born in the US. The other spouse is from Iran. The spouse that is a US citizen was subjected to 2 hours of questioning, threatened with jail, and called a liar. That was not a matter of legal versus illegal. I'd like to be able to tell my friends that they are lucky to be living in Schenectady because the City Council and the Mayor have publicly declared that they deserve protection. Thank you. Oh, and since I have a minute and 30 seconds, I'm sorry. I wanted to just comment a little bit about the Nikolaus building. I'm really sad that that building got torn down and that it went down the way that it did. I read the article. I understand some of the background as to why that happened. I just want to say that the optics on that are bad. It looks bad. It just looks bad. And I hope that going forward that the City Council and the Mayor will look more closely at these historic buildings and how to save them. Thank you.
Scott Collins.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, to start off with, this is a remarkable city. I've lived in Boston, I've lived in New York City, I've lived in Los Angeles. This is a very special place. Schenectady is a scrappy city. It's a city that's not afraid to get their hands dirty when they need to. And it's a city where people will chip in and assist their neighbors regardless of who their neighbors are. Because what binds us together is the community. It doesn't matter where my neighbor came from. It matters to me only that he lives next to me and I happen to live in Schenectady. I understand that there's economic ramifications potentially for Schenectady becoming a sanctuary city, and that's a possibility. But definitively, there are moral costs that come on with not becoming one. So I thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Jess Petriquin.
Of the Goose Hill neighborhood. I want to respond to the woman who was angry with me at filming her the past few meetings. I see that she's left the room. I want to remind her that JP News is nonprofit. It does not make any money. Also, I wanted to point out the fact to her that there are other cameras in the room here, so if she wanted privacy, she needs to go to the doctor's office. If anything, I'm doing her a favor by getting her gripes out in the open. Now, to change subjects, I couldn't help noticing that there was a shooting on Van Vranken Avenue, right in the spot where I had a barber shop for 10 years. And as a resident of Schenectady, probably for the most of my adult life, probably past 30 years, I've lived in Hamilton Hill, I've lived in Mount Pleasant, so I've seen the good and the bad. What I'm fed up with, which I think is more of a bigger problem than this whole sanctuary thing, is this no snitch culture thing that people seem to have. Everybody seems to be very sad and full of sorrow when one of their loved ones is laying down on the ground and bleeding out. But whatever happened to see something, say something? So summing things up, I do feel that a sanctuary city might cause that problem to become a little bit worse unless all the immigrants and the refugees have the money to live in the richer neighborhoods so that their kids won't have to hang around with the kids of the drug dealers and the heroin dealers after school. Food for thought. And I'll end there. Got a whole minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you. John Birch. I think they signed up when they earlier. Sean Pinella.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Pinella, and just wanted to start by I got a bunch of document stuff that I would like you guys to look regarding the Mount Pleasant movement. A little bit about my background history. Get back to me if you can. Second, I just wanted to talk about some new ideas because summer's coming. I wanted to mention about swimming pools. I see a stockade pool that's not working. I believe it hasn't been working in a while. It's not negative talk, just progression towards. See where we could do something about it. I got some local sponsors, the same sponsors like Hannaford, and I'm wearing Death Wish Coffee. They also support, movements that are better for the community. Spoke with them. They just need an idea and a plan, so I thought I would mention the swimming pools. Maybe we can get the same sponsors that support the Bridge Church to maybe get these pools up and running. And I'm sure I already heard some feedback, but can't say it all that are positive in 2 minutes here. I support sanctuary cities. I've been learning a lot. I've been reviewing the videos. It's on YouTube, and I'm getting educated a lot. It's really changing my mind, and I think everybody has their own personal views on it, and they're all meaningful and wanted. Just want to let you know that there's about 18 cities in New York that are sponsoring sanctuary cities. You can look them up. And when you look up in New York City, they also got it in other states. So that's a lot of people, a lot of professionals that agreed that we should be a sanctuary city. Professionals, those ones that make laws, not people that, scream and yell because they don't have any facts. And we pray for those people. And I pray for people with their different opinions because we do live in fear until we test, try, and taste. But Bethlehem, New York is another place near our hometown that just approved sanctuary cities. It's getting closer, so if we can get this approved, that's the least of our problems. What the problem is dealing with evil. And when you agree with sanctuary cities, you're saying yes against evil. I'm done in 50 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Smith. Patricia Smith.
Evening, Madam President, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Pat Smith from Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association. I'm just here to make an announcement that we are having our April meeting this Thursday on the 13th at 7 p.m. at the Faith Deliverance Tabernacle Church on the corner of Ostrander and Crane. This is a big meeting. David Hagenkamp will be there. He'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation on the upcoming Mount Pleasant project. Also, Mr. Russo, chairman of the Land Bank and the county legislation, will also be attending. This is a meeting that the Mount Pleasant neighborhood residents should attend. There will also be on April 26th, it is a Wednesday at 6 p.m., a meeting at the library. It'll be a community information meeting for residents so they can get the facts on the new library. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Carrata.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Madam President. Unlike my fellow residents, first, before I say anything, I wanted to clear the air here. I apologize for my outburst earlier before the meeting got started. And also want to clear the air that my fellow residents do not know the definition of words they've been calling me. I am not racist, I am not bigot, I am not intolerant, I am not deplorable. And I will not fall for the virus of political correctness. Now, what I want to talk about is this city is dead. Deader than a doornail, and it's losing itself in its identity. Dead by the crime, the violence, the senseless act of violence by taking good people's life in the city. As the mayor would like to say, crime's down in the city of Schenectady. Like to pull wool over our eyes? The good people I'm talking about. Right before the mayor and the state of city said crime's down, we had domestic disturbance. Then right after the mayor said crime was down, someone got shot and 800 block of Union Street. Then a week later, less than 2 weeks later, Ms. Gonzalez, who made an impact on the city, died. Then recently, we just had, what was it? Shooting there over Van Ricken, okay? What I mean by the city's dead is this. We're on 3 lists we shouldn't be. We're on the top 100, yes, top 100 worst cities in North America. We're number 8 and 9 on that list. The second list we're on is top 10 small cities foster crime. Third list is the top 5 most dangerous cities in New York State. Yes, most dangerous cities in New York State. 1, Niagara Falls. 3, 4, 5 is like Utica. Second most dangerous city in New York State, Schenectady. That's why we're dead then in doornail. Why the city's losing itself and its identity is because the historic buildings that have historic value and played a significant role in the history of the city are gone. Now, I'm not talking about the section of the city called Stockade. It's the buildings throughout the city that have been knocked down. 3 I know so far are right across the street here. The fire with J Street apartments. Those buildings are historic. Third one's right on Albany Street where you're going to have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 buildings with 4 housing. You already got 3 of them. Right out of the Summit Towers and Wingate Corporation. All right? Those buildings you knocked down to put that building for affordable housing, you have 3 of them there. One of them was a historic building. It was a community theater for the Hill. Second one, of course, is recently, the Nicholas building there. Buildings are like this. When they knocked down these 2 buildings that were supporting the other ones, eventually they found this shit down going. So I'd like to say thank you, Mayor, thank you, Metroplex, for ruining this city, for using taxpayer money. Yes, if the taxpayers knew that the money going to the city to fix the desperately needed infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, bridges, what have you, going to use
need you to summarize, Mr.
the
Crowe.
mouse buildings, there would be an outrage. I am outraged because I don't even recognize the city anymore.
Thank you. Andy Casarino.
Good evening, everyone. I should just start by saying that I am a history major at Union College, so I'm not a voting resident. But I hope everyone does understand why, as a member of the Union community and the Schenectady community, I have a vested interest in the sanctuary city policies. And I must also inform you, in case you don't agree with that, as in the letter from a Birmingham jail from Martin Luther King Jr., he said, no longer, to paraphrase him, no longer can we live with the provisional mindset of an outsider. When you live within this nation, you can never be considered an outsider. So rather than go over the basic facts about why Sanctuary City is beneficial, I'm going to give you a little history lesson into a part of Union College and Schenectady. In 1850, the federal government passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which pretty much gave slave catchers in the South broad power to go and capture escaped slaves and kidnap freed blacks. And this was in the climate when many people saw that free people, color, and enslaved people, if they were to come to the North, illegally would bring crime, violence, and take their jobs, in which we know with the historical perspective that we have that is simply not true. And in this environment, Moses Viney, a slave from Maryland, escaped north and found his way to Schenectady and Union College. And in Union College, a leaflet not, defying the federal government, gave Moses Viney a safe haven from these slave catchers. Now we ask yourself, why would someone harbor someone who's apparently illegal, who's an undocumented citizen, who is a potential threat from the perceived public, and why would a leaflet not go against the federal government? I'll tell you why. He did it because he understood that Moses Viney added to the community, he enriched the community, and he knew that at the end of the day, that was the right thing to do. And when we look back on the actions of Viney and Knott, and William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass and other famed abolitionists, we know what they did was the right thing. Now, whether you decide to act or not, history will remember. And what you do, history will judge. And as a parent, by how many people are here tonight and who decided to stay after they speak, the voters of this city will remember your actions. Thank you.
Mabel Leon. Mabel Leon. Mabel.
Good evening to all. My name is Mabel Leon, and I live in the city of Schenectady. Tonight is a Jewish holiday. It's the first night of Passover. This is also a Holy Week for Christians, ending with Easter on Sunday. This is a season of spring, rebirth, renewal, and new hope. It is in the context of those concepts that I ask you to pass Sanctuary City. And I'd like everybody in the audience, not everybody's going to speak, everybody who's in favor of Sanctuary City, please stand up. There was an article that I saw in the Schenectady paper about a discussion that was occurring at the City Council committee meeting. And in it, it indicated that 4 members of City Council are not really embracing Sanctuary, and that they want to call on have a resolution to call on the federal government to do comprehensive immigration reform. Let me tell you that everyone that's standing in this room believes in comprehensive immigration reform. But let me tell you a few facts. The current administration's immigration policy is build a wall, denigrate immigrants, deport, 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 and even extending to those seeking asylum from Muslim countries, those fleeing war, those fleeing starvation, those fleeing hunger, like in Syria. This current administration would like to ban all of them from coming. The theme of this evening was dignity and respect for all. So I think it's very important that we deal with what we can deal with in Schenectady. So you are members of City Council. So I call on you as members of City Council to act to put a sanctuary city in place and to pass legislation that indicates very strictly that local law enforcement will not do the work of immigration national officials. They will not participate in raids. They will not collaborate. So I say to you, we do not want to scapegoat our immigrants or our refugees. We want to stand for dignity and respect for all right here in Schenectady City. I call on you to support a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Ellis.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Hope you're enjoying the nice weather. My name's Tom Ellis. I live in Albany. I did live in Schenectady about 35 years ago for a few years. I appreciate what the Union College student had to say. He pretty much took what I used the comments that I was going to say. But it is true that 175 years ago, people who lived in this city helped people who were escaping from slavery to enjoy some freedom. And they were breaking the law when they did that. I don't know if Schenectady was formally in opposition to the fugitive slave law, but I know that people who lived here broke the law, and that Schenectady was an important stop on the Underground Railroad. So city residents broke the law. They assisted black people who were also breaking a law. It was against the law to escape from slavery, but we know that escaping from slavery was the right thing to do. Everybody would have that right, and assisting people who were doing that was certainly the right thing to do. I'm encouraging the city to remember its history and to formally become a sanctuary city. Thank you very much.
Robin Schnell.
Hi, my name is Robin Schnell, and thank you for letting me speak here tonight. I would like to call your attention to something that's happening in California right now that could affect us here. I've been talking to immigration lawyers the past couple weeks, helping a friend, because ICE has recommended that he get a lawyer to come in with him next time. And one of the lawyers was talking about how emboldened the ICE officers feel right now. They feel like now that Trump's in office, they get to do things that they haven't been able to do. So in California, they're hanging around outside courthouses. And ICE has photographs of anyone who has committed a crime that's an immigrant. And they have to come in and register every 6 months or whatever, just to show that they're still around, they haven't tried to flee. So they're sitting there and they're looking for people who haven't done anything. They're looking for witnesses, anybody that's coming to the courthouse, and they're rounding them up and they're putting them in jail. Not always able to deport them. Some of the people that they pick up are undeportable. Their countries won't take them back. So we as taxpayers have to pay somebody to put them in jail for 6 months, and then they get out again. That's your tax dollars going to feed somebody for 6 months while they do nothing. There's nothing they can do. Just a reminder that this is not about safety for anyone. This is just about fulfilling a campaign promise. Thank you.
Michelle Hackett. Mr. Sanders, I don't even have you signed up. Michelle Hackett.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Michelle Hackett. I live on Union Street. I've been a resident for almost 20 years, and I'm here once again this week to ask you to please support Sanctuary City. I also want to extend my apologies to Mr. Riggi. The last time I spoke, I neglected to give you credit for being willing to have the conversation, so please forgive me. And I want to thank the rest of the council members for now being responsive to our request to have the conversation. So a few months ago, I attended an ACLU People Power Grassroots Movement evening at the local Unitarian Church on Wendell. And the outcome of that particular evening was to connect with a law enforcement official in my municipality and give about 9 policies and procedures that the ACLU considers to be best practices, and ask if, they would abide by those. So I did, I myself and 4 others had a meeting with the chief of police, who was very warm and welcoming, and extremely well informed and professional. I really enjoyed meeting with him. And he did tell us that yes, your police force does abide by those best practices. But he also said that there really isn't any written policy or procedure at this time. So I would hope that when you can begin your conversation, that you would look at those and consider writing them down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joy Hall.
I'm Joy Hall of Schenectady. I've been here a long time. I've seen a lot of things happen. It's a good thing that Schenectady is integrated all the way. It took a lot of work over the years of doing it, so people can live different places wherever they want to live. And I feel that the immigrants, they have just as much right as everybody else to live in Schenectady too. And we should have this town a sanctuary town, religious all the way.
Tom Bovino. Tom Bovino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Formerly from Schenectady, now living in Scotia. I've heard some compelling arguments here all night. Why we should. I'm not for it. And just for the simple reason that we do have laws in this country. Let's assume that everybody here that's illegal in Schenectady is perfect, is a model citizen, has never done anything wrong in their entire lives, and don't intend on doing anything wrong in their entire lives. What's to say that if you do declare it a sanctuary city, that we don't bring people here that are not as good, that are not as safe? My nephew is a Border Patrol agent. He works up in the Thousand Islands. He did a stint down on the southern border for 3 months. The stories he comes back with are disheartening. Absolutely disheartening. If you want to research anything, start researching the Border Patrol. Ask some Border Patrol agents what goes on in the southern border. Ask what comes across this state and this country. I grew up in the 60s. Drugs were prevalent on every street corner. Never in my entire life have I seen the police carry Narcan in their cars to save people. Where do we think these drugs are coming from? Unfortunately, they're being the drug cartel, along with illegal immigrants, they have them carry these things across the border as far as payment. I could bore you with a bunch of statistics. I brought statistics here tonight. I'm not going to do that. The bottom line is that we have a rule of law in this country. Unless you're an American Indian, we're all legal immigrants. The bottom line is, if you want to come here, you should do it legally. I've heard rumors behind me that there is no such thing as legal or illegal immigrant. Well, that's wrong. That's not true. There is a legal immigrant and there's an illegal immigrant. We've all heard stories of illegal immigrant causing crimes, drugs. Just last time I was here, I heard a sob story from an individual whose family came from South America. The son got in trouble with a girl, sold drugs, got caught. What was his punishment? I heard it. What was his punishment? He was sent back to South America, didn't go to do any jail time here, got sent back to South America, now living with a relative, and he has to pay rent. That's his punishment. I'm done. The bottom line is, we have laws in this country. You should not just overlook them and throw them out the window. I'm not saying anybody that doesn't deserve to come here, but come here the right way. And if you do, pass the test like all of us did. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Stephanie Bendozic.
My name is Stephanie Bandozic. I'm a resident of Bellevue. I really wanted to keep this positive, but since everyone is going into illegal, I have to remind people what is illegal. How many people here can honestly say that they were never given a sip of alcohol before the legal age? How many people can say here that they have never driven 1 mile over the speed limit? That they never gave or received a scratch-off ticket before the legal age? We have laws that we break as good people every day. And I would like to share a reading from the diary of a young girl. She says, "It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped my ideals. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. How wonderful it is that no one need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world." Had sanctuary been granted to this young girl and her family, Anne Frank could today be an 87-year-old woman observing a Passover Seder with her family tonight. So I ask you, what would you do to keep your family safe from harm? What would you do to keep your family alive? I agree with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I want to point out that while we now extol the virtues of the Underground Railroad, when it operated, it was very much illegal. In the past, it was illegal to teach enslaved people of color, to read or write. It was illegal to integrate segregated churches, schools, theaters, and lunch counters. Until quite recently, it was illegal for a woman to hold a bank account, to own property, to vote, let alone to hold elected office. We start our city council meetings with a prayer, because in order to do this city justice, we must use both our heads and our hearts. When we make decisions in the best interest of Schenectady and our residents, it needs to come from a holistic point of view. And because of that, I strongly believe that Schenectady should be designated a sanctuary city, as it is in the best interest for a strong and safe city. Thank you.
Amy Hawansky.
Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. My name is Amy Hawansky. I go by Amy the Activist on Facebook. I used to work for Cornell Cooperative Extension of Schenectady County, which is located at the top of the hill over by Union. I was the community gardening coordinator. It was my job to provide garden plots to city residents so they could grow their own food. Many of the gardeners were immigrants. Many of the gardeners were from Afghanistan. I had never met anyone from Afghanistan before. The men I met did not speak English, but I was able to observe their gardening techniques and learn from them without having to speak English with them. You can imagine that the men were used to trying to grow food in a very dry environment. To make the best use of their water resources, they had developed a system of irrigation with mini trenches, little miniature trenches. They would dig shallow trenches about 10 inches deep. Then they planted tomato and pepper seedlings into the walls of the trenches, not down into the bottom of the trench. Next, they placed the hose at the top of the trench so that the water flowed continuously from trench to trench, soaking into the walls and reaching the roots of the seedlings. I thought this was a great technique, so I used it myself in my own garden plot. Months later, my boss visited the gardens and saw my plot and saw the plots of the Afghani men. My boss said, "Well, looks like you learned something from those men, didn't you?" Yes. Yes, I did. I, the gardening expert, learned a new method from an immigrant. Can't we all learn from our immigrant friends? Can't we all? Yes. I urge you to make Schenectady a sanctuary city. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Wakina Jackson.
Hello, good evening. I'm Wakina Jackson. I was delighted to see the photo of my grandmother, Dr. Georgetta Dix, in the lobby on the table. One of her quotes were, "A well-fed child is a happy child." She was an advocate of children, especially the children of Schenectady. With that in mind, my cousins and myself, her grandkids, started an initiative to address the hunger among children in Schenectady. I am here to ask all of you for your help in this effort. We're hosting a kid-friendly food drive. If you can, to help by talking about it with your network, in your offices and by donating any kid-friendly, unexpired food item, foods that kids like to eat. What we're trying to do is add to the food baskets that the pantries already have for kids. Quality kid-friendly foods like mac and cheese, peanut butter and jelly with a loaf of bread, Campbell's soups with meat, because that's a full meal, baby food, definitely they need baby food, frozen juice, milk and cereal, chicken nuggets of course, hot dogs, fruit cups, juice pouches, and go-go yogurt, granola, applesauce, frozen meals are just a few examples. The kid-friendly food drive will happen April 15th, 2017 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Schenectady State Street Food Pantry. That's 5 Catherine Street, which is, again, connected to my grandmother. Her daycare center was housed there many, many years ago. I hope that you'll be able to help in this effort. Any support would be extremely appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Jackson.
Hello, my name is Lynn Jackson. I am with the Capital District Coalition Against Islamophobia. We are an organization of people in the capital area who are concerned with racism and Islamophobia. We work a lot on the issues of getting resolutions such as this passed in local town councils. Last night at our meeting, we passed a resolution in support of a sanctuary city for the city of Schenectady, a resolution for respecting the dignity and respect for all people in Schenectady. And I do myself live in Albany, and I just want to make a comment. Somebody talked about how Albany being a sanctuary city has impacted the Albany budget. And I just want you to know I follow the Albany budget a great deal, and it has had absolutely no effect whatsoever, and that Albany's budget issues have absolutely nothing to do with sanctuary city status. So thank you very much.
Jamaica Miles. Jamaica Miles. Take your time, Jamaica.
So, a couple things. Hey, everybody. As mentioned, Albany, that money has nothing to do with Sanctuary City. And as a matter of fact, New York State gave them the $12.5 million that they needed for their budget, so they're all good. In addition, just thinking about the New York State budget, because I do want to mention this briefly, there were a number of individuals in Schenectady, the city and the county, that lobbied hard at the state level to ensure that we received the foundation aid that we needed for our public schools that happen to be predominantly black and brown. Some of them are immigrant children. And we, because of our efforts and the lobbying that we did, we see that the foundation aid is more than $700 million in an increase this year, which includes $529,525 increase for the city of Schenectady. So that's the kind of work that we do. We fight hard for those that are in need, including the children of our city, and we expect that our city government would do the same. Couple points. The negative stereotypes around people of color, calling them criminals and violent offenders, seems to be something that people continue to mention, and that's just wrong, because actually when we look at the story of immigrants and committing crimes, we look at the statistics, it shows that the lowest percentage inside our prison system actually is immigrants. So they're not the ones that are committing crimes and doing all of these bad things as others would like us to believe. The other point being that we continue to have these dog whistle politics. It used to be that you could talk about slavery, that was fine, and then you couldn't talk about it anymore. So we talked about segregation and Jim Crow, and that was fine, but really we were still talking about racism. And we talk about mass incarceration, that's really still talking about racism. And now we're using immigration to talk about racism, because it's not all immigrants that are being targeted. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, because the refugees and Muslims and immigrants that are being targeted every single day happen to be people of color. They're not just just every immigrant. So when we talk about being a sanctuary city, this is talking about security and protection, dignity and respect for all individuals that happen to live in the city of Schenectady. That's regardless of their zip code, their race, their religion, their country of origin, or their immigration status. And making sure that every individual in the city of Schenectady, citizens, documented and undocumented alike, recognize that their humanity is of importance to our government, that they are protected as humans and will not be treated differently for any other reason. That standing in the city of Schenectady, being a resident here, regardless of the color of your skin, is not going to determine how you are treated. So being a sanctuary city, one last time, is not just about the immigrants, but it does include immigrants. It's not just about Muslims, but it does include Muslims. But it's all people of all races having dignity and respect, equity and justice in all of their lives. Thank you.
I assume you'd like to speak, Mr. Sanders? I assume you'd like to speak, Mr. Sanders?
Hello, my name is Robert Sanders from Mount Pleasant in Schenectady. I'm going to start off and I'm going to quote our last president, former President Barack Obama, when he was negotiating the Affordable Care Act. And I remember him sitting across from Paul Ryan and former Congressman Ryan saying to him at that time, they were negotiating things, and I remember President Obama sitting there and looking at him and saying, no, Congressman, elections have consequences. No. Now, it's just that back here, my liberal friends, they don't remember that. I hear them talking about President Trump now and this past election happening. Now, I'm no big Trump fan or anything like that, but there's been an election. It has consequences. There's things happening. You hear some slamming of what's happening with ICE. But elections have consequences. Things are happening today. Okay, now to go on, okay, sanctuary cities, federal government takes care of what's happening when it comes to our immigration or illegal immigration process. I'm just going to say that. When I just heard, the lowest amount. Well, if there's such a low amount, why are so many people here? I just got that question to ask. Why there would be no people here for mass illegal immigration? Because there would be no problem. I was just wondering, saying that to myself. But I thought, and I said to myself, you know why they're here? Is because, see, when people get arrested, okay, for illegal immigration, they're let go right away because that's what's happening in the United States, whether it be for rape, murder, burglary, whatever it is in the United States. And it's become such a, boondangle in this country. And now we're just having them come here, and they expect Schenectady City Council to do this. And I heard some people say they're from Albany, Scotia, this and that. That's good. I've checked a number of people out. This almost reminds me when we wanted the condos in Woodlawn. Everybody's here except for the people of Schenectady. Okay, this is a Schenectady issue. Schenectady people should speak on this issue. Now, I imagine there are some from Schenectady, but I want Schenectady issues to be addressed. There's some big issues in Schenectady, like the bridge when Tony Bonone spoke. That's a big issue. Did you hear any people talk about Tony's issue? No, they don't care about that bridge. They could give a damn about that bridge, okay? They don't care about the big ticket items in Schenectady, what's going on. How about Michigan Avenue, the potholes on Michigan Avenue?
I need you to summarize, please,
This
Mr.
is important.
Sanders.
I will summarize, okay? But there's big items, okay? This isn't a big item. I'm sorry. Federal government rules this, not the city of Schenectady. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I have no one else signed up to speak this evening, so I will declare this privilege of the floor closed. And I will move on to miscellaneous business of the council. Mr. Riggi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, expressing their views. I have a couple of announcements. The Bellevue Preservation meeting this week will be on Wednesday, not Thursday. I believe because of Holy Thursday. So it's Wednesday, April 12th, 7 p.m. Speaker to be announced. And again, this is only for this month, where it will be Wednesday. Generally, it's going to be on Thursday. So Jackie Hurd wanted me to make that clear. And it's at St. Paul's Episcopal Church on Fairview Avenue. Secondly, Jack's House is open again, as we know. Well, not open again, open. The grand opening will be to follow, but they opened early last month. And the Cavadil dinner will be on Friday, April 21st, and Saturday, April 22nd, from 5 to 8 at St. Anthony's Church on Seward Place. Children under 8, $6, and adults are $12. Wine, soft beverage, and takeout available. So this is a great cause. It's amazing what's happened to that house, the renovation there, and the good that it's doing to the community. And the Falvo family's done a great job putting this together. So again, to be correct, it's not Cavatelli, that's Madigan, it's Cavadil. Like Capicola and Cabagool. It's two different things with the same product, so we'll make that clear. I'd also like to wish everybody Passover started at dusk tonight. Wish all of the people of Jewish faith a blessed Passover and peaceful Passover. And this is Holy Week, so I'd like to just wish every one of my Christian friends a blessed and happy Easter season, Holy Week. This is an important time, so there's a lot for us to certainly to take in, to think about. And this is the time to do it. So this is a good week, so I wish everyone a blessed and happy Easter. Thank you.
Ms. Lewski-Wiltzunis.
Thank you. I too would like to thank everyone for coming out. I want to give some kudos to the Schenectady East Rotary. Last Sunday they had a pancake breakfast to benefit the Ring of Hope. There was a fabulous turnout, and it was very well attended. So thank you to Schenectady East, and the monies are going to help the Ring of Hope Boxing Club, which do fantastic work in the community. The other thing I wanted to comment on is I went to the crime victims ceremony on Wednesday in Central Park. It was very moving. It was very well attended. I want to thank Tina Mancuso for organizing and supporting the families of crime victims. It was a very cold afternoon, but there was a lot of warmth in the pavilion. The other thing I wanted to kind of focus on is, we need to make sure that Congress is protecting our vital programs in the city. And the most recent numbers coming out of what the federal budget is going to look like isn't very good. Education is being cut by 50%. That's including teacher training, after-school programs, museums and libraries. Infrastructure, I know there was a couple of people that commented on CDGB money. That's going to be cut by 50% according to this latest numbers. It's also going to include wastewater treatment, brownfield funding, and Tiger grant programs. And small businesses, small business loans, rural business support, and economic development. These are all real programs that could have significant issues to the city of Schenectady, which we need to lobby our Congress people to ensure that we get our fair share of funding in these programs. I would also like to, wish everyone a blessed Passover and Holy Week and Easter. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mutaviran.
Thank you. And on the topic of federal budget, I would just like to add to Ms. Karen Wilsonis and to remind our residents to reach out to your Congress representative, because we are looking at the budget right now, and with 50% being cut, public safety, and I can go through some numbers here, $700 million from the Justice Program, $677 million from FEMA, and $190 million from the flood mapping. And we're talking about a home assistance program, $950 million being cut, and $500 million from the elderly housing assistance. And I want to encourage residents to please reach out to your Congress representative and ask them, lobby against this cut. It is not good. It will affect us in the city of Schenectady. And I want to encourage everyone to reach out. It does make an impact. I just want to remind an announcement here, the Schenectady County Human Rights Commission, Martin Luther King Jr. Coalition, street dedication ceremony for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tomorrow, April 11th from 11 a.m. And we're asking you to assemble at the corner of Albany Street and Vidor Avenue for the street dedication ceremony in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And that's tomorrow, 11 a.m. I just want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Passover, and we celebrate Easter this week. Happy Easter to everyone. Have a safe and enjoyable holiday week. Thank you.
Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you. And I'd also like to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and glad that we're gotten to the point. I was not at last week's committee meeting, but the outcome was that I guess we will be having a discussion. There's been people have come and said a lot of things, and I've listened to everything, and I really kind of refrained from maybe responding to some things, but there was one thing that was said today. There's been a number of times where people have referred to immigration, and in that context they've talked about slavery. One person tonight said, referred to slaves as undocumented people. So I just have to say, something about that, because I just feel I can't let that comment, just go past, because certainly that's not the case. We all know the history of slavery, but just to refer to slaves as undocumented people, I just really had to bring that to the person's attention, and maybe it was they had misspoken, but that was, that's not how it happened. We all know how it happened. Just want to just say that one comment, and we will be speaking about this again on Monday. And I do have talked to colleagues from different states about this, and I really think that it's a matter of there are people who are for, there are people who are against. But conversation definitely is needed, and with anything, as with everything else, we can talk about it and come to a consensus and see that we can all come to a place where we can agree that all of our citizens are safe, respected, and that we're not doing the work of the federal government. And I think that is really the place that everyone's trying to get to. This past Friday, we had they called it the finale and the policy summit for the Breathing Lights campaign. The mayor was there and spoke on the panel. And they called it a finale, and it was a finale of maybe all the events, but I just want to remind folks that there's still opportunities to purchase homes that were Breathing Lights homes and other homes in the city of Schenectady. And the purpose of Breathing Lights was really just to bring attention to the blight, but then beyond that, to continue to go on and to put these houses back on the tax roll. There are opportunities for people to purchase. We have some people that have already invested, and others just homeowners who want to actually live in the house. So it was the major event. There'll be something on WMHT to talk about it. But again, there are still lots of homes in Schenectady for people to purchase, become homeowners, and in our city. And with that, the final reclamation clinic, which is to talk to people about how they can acquire a home and the different forms, et cetera, that have to be filled out, and insurances and all of that, will be held this coming Thursday on the 13th at the Downtown Public Library from 5:30 to 8. I believe childcare is provided, and they will be feeding you. So it's a little bit length of time, but they'll give people food. And also, I just want to announce that it's not until next month, but I Love My Park is coming up, and that's going to be on Saturday, May the 6th, from 8 to 4 p.m., and there's going to, and depending on the park, there we are. Depending on the park, what time it will be, but the parks that will be focused on this year are Central Park, Jerry Burrell Park, Simons Park, Riverside Park, Wallingford Park, Vale Park, and Hillhurst Park, Woodlawn, and Woodlawn Preserve. All of those will be parks that will be focused on during the I Love My Park this year. And people can clean other parks if they want to, if they happen to live around pocket parks, etc. And I also just want to say wish a blessed Passover to our Jewish friends that observe that, and a happy Easter or Resurrection Sunday to those who observe that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Palomeni?
Similar to Ms. Zalewski-Wazunis as well as Mr. Mudavaran, there's a number of issues with the federal budget which we would encourage people to contact their congressmen as well as senators from the state. One resolution we did pass a while back now is to protect municipal bonds. That is still on the cutting block. These are very important from a local perspective because they allow the local government to finance public infrastructure that supports everyday life. They can prevent an increase in the cost to taxpayers in building schools, water treatment facilities, libraries, bridges, and many other projects. And it's just a big benefit to our local community. Furthermore, there's some action on closing the online sales tax loophole. We would encourage that Congress and the President do so. This would protect our local businesses, local small businesses, which is very important. Keeping our local money local is important to help reduce our property taxes, and that would go a long way to help us as a community invest in our community and build infrastructure that is needed. In regards to some of the comments tonight, there's no fear from Attorney General Sessions withdrawing our money. There's been a number of things that have been said at the podium which are just factually incorrect in terms of losing funding. It's correct to state that the Commandeering Act or rule, however you want to put it, part of the 10th Amendment does restrict the president from acting in a way that's retaliatory towards local communities. But that being said, there are ways for the federal government to cut off funding. For example, the Justice Department and Homeland Security are just two agencies which can restrict funding to communities. They provide grants for local law enforcement agencies to hire officers, bolster prosecutions, courts and jails, provide drug treatment, prepare for terrorist attacks, and assist crime victims and witnesses. In particular, the SCAP program, SCAAP, would be something that would be relevant as far as to what funding could be cut to communities. Furthermore, there are basically three areas that can be enacted without congressional approval. First of all, there's the JAG program, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, and those funds go toward a variety of state and local law enforcement expenses. There's the Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS, and those funds are aimed at initiatives to build trust between communities and law enforcement agencies. And as I said previously, there's SCAP, SCAAP, the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, and these are all through the Department of Justice. Furthermore, the congressional powers are such that they can put restrictions how they word things as far as grant programs and other initiatives because they control the purse strings. There's ways for them to actually restrict funding. So there's no fear, it's just telling you some of the facts of what's out there. It's some of the things that have been said at the podium just are incorrect. And furthermore, even if Attorney General Schneiderman is correct, that would be a lawsuit that would take at least a year and the funding would stop. So no fear, just statement of some of the corrections. I would like to wish everybody a very nice time tomorrow at the ceremonial street name. Unfortunately, I can't be there since I have to work, but I hope it's a beautiful day and that the ceremony goes quite well and there's a lot of people of attendance. And I think there is a correction as to where the gathering point is. Where is it? So they are going to gather at the Sikkim Food Pantry parking lot, not Veeder and Albany Street. That was on the flyer, but it's been changed to Sikkim parking lot. And also I'd like to wish everybody a happy Passover and Easter, one of the best times of our holiday season. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Again, you know, as you sit here, there's maybe the perception that there is a greater divide in this community than there really is, because I think we all have a common goal of promoting this community as a progressive city, a city that understands the needs of our people, and is trying to set an agenda in many ways. And so, again, appreciate people coming out. You know, the council's continuing its dialogue and trying to come up with what is an appropriate position and word choice on a public policy or position statement. And I just want to also join my colleagues in wishing everyone a holy and happy Passover and Easter, and I know we'll see everybody back probably in 2 weeks. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
And it saddens me to announce that the city is losing a strong proponent. Reverend Stacy Midge of the First Reformed Church in the Stockade has taken a new assignment in Ohio. Stacy is not only a strong spiritual guide, but also an open-minded, caring, and giving individual with strong intellect and a powerful voice, both in word and in song. Although she is a transplant originally from Minnesota, she took Schenectady on as her own, and she has done brave and meaningful work, among other accomplishments, through Patty's Place and outreach-based service, providing immediate resources and long-term referrals for women at risk, exploited, or involved in sex work. To know Stacy is an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for all of your service to Schenectady. We wish you the very best in your next chapter, and you will be missed, most certainly. And whatever religious holiday you're celebrating this week, I wish that it is filled with family and love and happiness. And remember that April 22nd, which comes before our next meeting, is Earth Day. So mark your calendars and do something kind for our Earth, or join one of the several cleanups that will be throughout the city. And with that, unless anyone would like to hesitate, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ms. Porterfield, seconded by Ms. Zalewski-Wiltzunis. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you for holding that sneeze for 3.5 hours.
How are you?
It's the least I can do after showing up late to the meeting.
That's all right. What's another 5 minutes at this point?
Right.
Yes, you may.